The text message arrived at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, just as I was reviewing quarterly reports for my investment portfolio. I'd been expecting something like this for weeks, ever since my sister Victoria announced her elaborate baby shower plans at the exclusive Rosewood Country Club. The same country club where our parents had been members for 20 years, where Victoria had her wedding reception, and where I'd never quite fit in despite my family's desperate attempts to mold me into their vision of success. Maya, I need to talk to you about Saturday. I know you were planning to come to the baby shower, but honestly I think it would be better if you stayed home. The guest list is very refined. Lots of important people from Richard's firm, my college friends who've all done well for themselves, some of Mom's charity circle. You just feel out of place and frankly you'd embarrass us. I can't have you showing up in your thrift store clothes driving that beat-up Honda. This is important to me. Please understand. Victoria. I stared at the message for a long moment, feeling the familiar sting of family rejection that had followed me through 28 years of life. Maya Thompson, the black sheep. Maya the disappointment. Maya who dropped out of law school to start her own business, who lived in a modest apartment instead of buying into the suburban dream, who wore simple clothes and drove a reliable car instead of flashing wealth she supposedly didn't have. If only they knew. I set down my phone and looked around my home office, with its wall of monitors displaying real-time market data, cryptocurrency fluctuations, and the performance metrics of the 43 companies I'd either founded, acquired, or held controlling stakes in. The beat-up Honda Victoria mentioned was actually my daily driver because I preferred reliability over flash. The thrift store clothes were a conscious choice to avoid drawing attention. And the modest apartment was actually a 3,000 square foot penthouse that I owned outright, along with the entire building beneath it. My phone buzzed with another message. I know this sounds harsh, but you have to understand, these people judge everything. Your appearance, your job, your lifestyle. I can't have them thinking our family is struggling. Richard's partnership depends on maintaining certain appearances. I hope you can be understanding about this. Maybe we can have lunch next week instead? Victoria. I laughed out loud, the sound echoing off the floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the city skyline. These people judge everything. If they only knew that the struggling little sister they were so eager to hide was worth more than most of their net worths combined. I opened my banking app and took a screenshot of my primary checking account. The number was particularly impressive today thanks to a tech startup acquisition that had closed yesterday. $47,382,591.73. And that was just one account. It didn't include my investment portfolio's real estate holdings, business valuations, or the offshore accounts my financial advisors had recommended for tax optimization. I sent the screenshot to Victoria with a simple message. I think I can afford appropriate attire for your party. My phone rang within 30 seconds. Maya? Maya, what is this? Is this some kind of joke? Victoria's voice was high and panicked, the way it got when she couldn't control a situation. Hello to you too, Victoria. How's the pregnancy going? Maya, stop playing games. What is this screenshot? Where did you get this? From my phone. It's my bank account. That's impossible. You don't have $47 million. You can't have $47 million. You work from home doing whatever it is you do. You live in that tiny apartment. You shop at Target. I work from home because I own 12 companies and prefer to manage them personally rather than trust everything to hired executives, I explained patiently. I live in my apartment because I like the location and the building's architecture. And I shop at Target because their basics are well made and reasonably priced. None of those choices are about money. 12 companies? Victoria's voice cracked. Maya, what are you talking about? What companies? I pulled up my portfolio summary on one of my monitors. Let's see. Thompson Digital Solutions, which I started with the money I saved by dropping out of law school. TechFlow Innovations, which I acquired 2 years ago for $3.2 million and sold last month for $18 million. Greenfield Property Management, which owns commercial real estate in 6 cities. DataStream Analytics, which provides business intelligence to Fortune 500 companies. Stop, Victoria whispered. Just stop. This is insane. Mom and Dad said you were working some entry-level tech job. Mom and Dad said that because it's what they wanted to believe. It was easier than admitting their dropout daughter had built something they didn't understand. But, But you never said anything. You never corrected us when we worried about your future, when we talked about you needing to get your life together. When did anyone ever ask me about my work? I challenged. When did anyone show interest in what I was actually doing instead of just assuming I was failing? The silence on the other end of the line stretched for nearly a minute. Hiya, Victoria finally whispered. Are you really worth $47 million? Today, yes. Tomorrow it might be 48 or 46, depending on market conditions. That's just liquid assets, by the way. The business valuations and real estate probably put the total closer to 80 million. 80. Victoria made a sound like she was choking. $80 million. Roughly. My accountant gives me exact numbers quarterly, but I don't obsess over the daily fluctuations. Your accountant. Oh my God, Maya, what have we done? What have I done? You've treated me exactly the way you always have, I said simply. Like an embarrassment to be hidden away when important people might be watching. That's not. I didn't mean. Victoria was crying now, the ugly sobbing kind of tears that come with the realization that you've made a terrible mistake. Maya, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I was successful? Would it have mattered if I was making $50,000 a year instead of $50 million? Should your love and respect for me depend on my bank balance? No, but, oh God, Maya, you must hate us. You must hate me. I leaned back in my chair watching the city bustle below while my sister cried on the phone. Did I hate them? It was a fair question. For years I'd watched my family dismiss my choices, my career, my lifestyle. I'd sat through family dinners where they talked around me about real careers and practical decisions. I'd endured their well-meaning but condescending advice about getting my life together, finding a nice corporate job, moving to the suburbs and settling down like a proper adult. I don't hate you, Victoria. But I am disappointed. Disappointed. You've known me for 28 years. You've seen me work 18-hour days, seen me passionate about my projects, seen me building something from nothing. And your first instinct when planning your baby shower was to assume I'd embarrass you. I thought, we all thought. You thought I was a failure because I didn't follow the traditional path. Because I chose purpose over prestige, impact over image. But you have both now. Victoria protested. You have more prestige and image than any of us. Do I? Because 30 minutes ago you were disinviting me from your baby shower for being too poor and embarrassing. The silence that followed was painful. Maya, Victoria's voice was small. Can you ever forgive me? Can you forgive all of us? There's nothing to forgive, I said, though we both knew that wasn't entirely true. You were operating with incomplete information. Incomplete information, Victoria repeated bitterly. That's a nice way of saying we were prejudiced idiots who judged you without bothering to learn the facts. You were family members who cared about each other but had different definitions of success. Stop being so generous, Victoria snapped. I was horrible to you. We all were. And now I find out that you're more successful than Richard will ever be, more successful than any of us, and you just let us treat you like garbage. I let you reveal your true characters, I corrected. There's a difference. Our true characters, Victoria repeated hollowly. And what did you learn? That my family's love comes with conditions. That your respect for me depends on external validation. That you value appearances over authenticity. Maya. But I also learned that you're capable of recognizing when you're wrong. That's something. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. What happens now? Now you decide whether you want me at your baby shower or not. But this time, you make the decision based on the fact that I'm your sister, not based on how much money you think I have. Of course I want you there. Maya, please, you have to come. I need to make this right. I'll come, I said. But not because you found out about my bank account. I'll come because despite everything, I love you and I want to celebrate your baby. Thank you, Victoria whispered. Maya, there's something else. Would you mind not telling Mom and Dad about this conversation? I want to tell them myself. I want to explain what happened. What exactly are you planning to tell them? The truth. That I disinvited my own sister from my baby shower because I was embarrassed by her perceived lack of success. That I'm a terrible person who judged family based on money and appearances. You're not a terrible person, Victoria. You made a mistake based on incomplete information and social pressure. Stop defending me. Victoria cried. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve your kindness. I treated you like someone you thought couldn't contribute to your image of success, I finished. But Victoria, here's what you're missing. Even if I only had $1,000 in my bank account, even if I was struggling to pay rent, even if I really was the failure you thought I was, I would still be your sister. I would still deserve love and respect and inclusion in family celebrations. The crying resumed, harder this time. You're right, Victoria sobbed. You're absolutely right. It shouldn't matter. Your worth as a person, your place in this family, shouldn't depend on your financial success. Now you're learning. Maya, how did you get so wise? How did you build all this success and still stay so grounded? I smiled, looking at a framed photo on my desk of me and my team from one of my tech companies. Because I never forgot that success is about more than money. It's about solving problems, creating value, making a positive impact. The money is just a byproduct. What kind of problems do your companies solve? For the first time in the conversation, Victoria sounded genuinely curious about my work rather than just shocked by my wealth. Thomson Digital Solutions helps small businesses compete with larger corporations by optimizing their online presence. DataStream Analytics helps companies make better decisions by interpreting their data patterns. Greenfield Property Management creates affordable housing options in urban areas. You're helping people. I'm building solutions to problems I care about. The financial success follows when you create real value. All these years we thought you were just playing around with computers. I was playing around with computers. That play turned into innovation, which turned into businesses, which turned into impact. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Maya, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you never correct us? Why did you let us think you were struggling? I considered the question carefully. Because I wanted to know who you really were when you thought I had nothing to offer you. I wanted to understand what kind of family I had. And now you know. Now I know that you're capable of growth. That you can recognize mistakes and want to do better. That's more than I hoped for. What if I hadn't found out about your success? What if you had actually been struggling financially? Would you have just accepted being excluded from family events forever? No, I said firmly. Eventually, I would have had to set boundaries. But I'm glad it happened this way because now you understand the problem isn't about money. It's about how we treat people we think are beneath us. Oh God, Victoria whispered. How many other people have I treated this way? How many times have I judged someone's worth based on their appearance or their perceived status? That's something you'll have to figure out for yourself. But awareness is the first step toward change. Maya, will you help me? Will you help me become a better person? A better sister? You don't need my help to become a better person, Victoria. You just need to remember that everyone deserves dignity and respect, regardless of their circumstances. I want to make this right. Not just with you but with everyone. I want to change how I think about success and worth and family. That's a good start, I said. But remember, real change takes time. It's not enough to feel guilty for a few weeks and then go back to old patterns. I know. I understand. Maya, there's one more thing. The baby shower. Some of the people coming are the same types who would have judged you. Corporate wives, social climbers, people who measure worth by handbag brands and zip codes. And I want you to come exactly as you are. Wear whatever makes you comfortable. Drive whatever car you want. Be yourself. And if anyone has a problem with it, they can leave. I smiled. That sounds like a good plan. Even though now I know you could show up in a designer dress and a Bentley if you wanted to. Especially because you know that. You're choosing to value authenticity over appearances. That's growth. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Maya, can I ask you about something else? Sure. Mom and Dad. They're going to find out about your success eventually. How do you think they'll react? I sighed. Probably the same way you did. Shock, followed by guilt, followed by a desperate attempt to retroactively change how they've treated me. Are you going to tell them? I don't know. Part of me thinks they should hear it from you since this situation started with your baby shower. But part of me wonders if it would be better coming from me. I think I should tell them. I should explain what I did and why it was wrong, and let them know that I've learned something important about family and respect. That sounds mature. Maya, there's something I need you to know. Even before I found out about your money, even while I was sending that horrible text, part of me knew I was wrong. Part of me knew that excluding you was cruel and unfair. Then why did you do it? Because I was scared. Scared that Richard's colleagues would judge our family. Scared that I wasn't successful enough or sophisticated enough to belong in their world. I projected my insecurities onto you. That's honest. I turned you into a symbol of everything I was afraid of becoming. Poor, struggling, unsuccessful. And in doing that, I forgot that you're my sister. I forgot that you're smart and kind and hardworking. I forgot everything that actually matters. Victoria, can I tell you something? Of course. Even when I was building my first company, even when I was living on ramen noodles and working 18-hour days, even when I really was struggling, I was never poor in the ways that matter. I had purpose, passion, hope, determination. Those are riches that can't be measured in bank accounts. You're trying to make me feel better about being a shallow, materialistic person. I'm trying to help you understand that worth isn't about money. It's about character, integrity, how we treat others. You made a mistake, but that doesn't define your entire character. How are you so forgiving? How are you not furious with me? Because being furious would hurt me more than it would hurt you. Because I'd rather focus on building better relationships going forward than dwelling on past mistakes. Victoria was crying again, but softer this time. I don't deserve you as a sister. You don't get to decide what you deserve. You just get to decide how you'll behave going forward. Maya, I promise you, I swear to you, I'm going to be different. I'm going to think before I judge. I'm going to remember that everyone has value regardless of their circumstances. That's all I can ask for. No, it's not all you can ask for. You can ask me to make amends. You can ask me to apologize publicly. You can ask me to change everything about how I've been living my life. I don't want you to change everything about your life, Victoria. I want you to keep the good parts and improve the problematic parts. That's what growth looks like. What are the good parts? You're passionate about your career. You love your husband. You're excited about becoming a mother. You care about family even if you've been misguided about how to show that care. And the problematic parts? You judge people based on external factors instead of character. You prioritize appearances over authenticity. You let social pressure influence how you treat the people you love. Those are some pretty big problematic parts. But they're fixable. Awareness is the first step. Victoria took a shaky breath. Maya, will you do me a favor? What kind of favor? Will you come to the baby shower and just be yourself? Don't try to prove anything or make any points. Just come as my sister who I love and want to celebrate with. That was always the plan. Even after how I treated you. Especially after how you treated me. Because now you understand why it was wrong, and that understanding is valuable. I love you, Maya. I know I haven't shown it very well lately, but I do love you. I love you too, Victoria. That's why this conversation was worth having. Maya, there's one last thing. After the baby shower, after I tell mom and dad, after everything settles down, would you be willing to tell me about your companies? About what you do and how you built it all? Not because I'm impressed by your success, but because I realize I don't actually know much about my sister's life. I'd like that, I said, meaning it. I'd like that very much. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long time, watching the numbers fluctuate on my screens and thinking about family, success, and the price of keeping secrets. Victoria's call had been painful but necessary. Sometimes people need to see the full picture before they can understand how distorted their perspective has been. My phone buzzed with a text. Maya, I just wanted to say again how sorry I am. You're going to be the most successful person at my baby shower, and more importantly, you're going to be the most genuine. I'm proud to be your sister. Victoria. I smiled and typed back. I'm proud to be yours too. See you Saturday. Saturday arrived with perfect weather and my usual morning routine. I chose a simple blue dress from my closet, not from Target this time, but not designer either. Just something comfortable and appropriate for a baby shower. I drove my Honda to the Rosewood Country Club, parking between a BMW and a Mercedes without feeling the slightest bit self-conscious. The baby shower was beautiful as I'd known it would be. Victoria had excellent taste and had spared no expense. The decorations were elegant, the food was catered by the city's best restaurant, and the guest list was exactly as she'd described: successful women from Richard's law firm, Victoria's college friends who'd climbed corporate ladders, and our mother's charity circle. When I arrived, Victoria rushed over to greet me, her face glowing with more than just pregnancy hormones. Maya, you look beautiful. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me, I said, meaning both invitations. As the afternoon progressed, I found myself in conversations about careers, families, and life goals. Several women asked about my work and I explained my companies in simple terms, focusing on the problems we solved rather than the profits we generated. I talked about the satisfaction of helping small businesses grow, the challenge of interpreting complex data patterns, and the impact of creating affordable housing options. No one asked about my income and I didn't volunteer the information. But Victoria watched me throughout the afternoon with a new kind of respect, not because she knew about my bank account, but because she was finally seeing me clearly. Near the end of the party, one of Richard's colleagues mentioned that her company was looking for digital marketing solutions for their small business clients. Maya owns a company that does exactly that, Victoria said proudly. Thompson Digital Solutions. Maybe you two should talk. And just like that, without fanfare or drama, I was no longer the embarrassing sister to be hidden away. I was simply Maya, Victoria's sister, who happened to run several successful companies and might be able to help solve business problems. As I drove home that evening, I reflected on how much had changed in just a few days. Victoria had learned that worth isn't measured in dollars. I had learned that sometimes people need a shock to examine their own prejudices. And our family had learned that assumptions can blind us to the people we love most. The screenshot of my bank account had started a conversation, but it was the conversation that had changed everything. Money might have gotten Victoria's attention, but understanding had won her respect. And that, I thought as I pulled into my parking garage, was worth more than $47 million. 2 months later, when Victoria gave birth to her daughter, she asked me to be the godmother. Not because I was wealthy, but because I was the kind of person she wanted her daughter to become. Someone who measured success by impact rather than income, who chose authenticity over appearances, and who treated everyone with dignity and respect. I want her to grow up knowing that her worth doesn't depend on her bank account, Victoria told me as we looked down at the sleeping baby. I want her to understand that success comes in many forms, and the most important form is being a good person. She'll learn that from watching you, I assured her. I hope so, Victoria said. I have a lot of learning to do myself. We all do. That's what makes life interesting. And as I held my niece for the first time, I made a silent promise to be the kind of aunt who would always value her for who she was, not what she achieved. Because family love shouldn't come with conditions, and respect shouldn't require a bank statement to prove worthiness. Some lessons are worth $47 million to learn.